we've now entered true Pacific Northwest daytime when it rains a lot, which is nice.
Yay.
I prefer the rain. We have the creepy Stephen King fog rolling in where it's like,
Yes.
oh, look at my pretty town. And then 5 minutes later you look out and you're like,
You're
I
like,
can't
I can't
see
see anything.
anything. Huh. Is this a horror movie? Am I in a Stephen King novel?
Well, I have had to turn on my air conditioner.
Wow. Yeah, we're not there yet.
Because it got to like mid 80s.
Wow. Yeah,
but
we're
then
still
like 3
like in
days,
the
legit
60s.
3 days later, it dropped back down to the 40s. So whatever.
It's nice to know that Mother Nature is having a breakdown everywhere.
I know,
not
it's
just
like, go
us.
home. You're drunk.
Well, welcome to the 12th? I'm sucking at counting these days. 12th episode of Brunch
Yes.
and Judge? I think we're on
Yes.
12. So we're about to hit our teenage years, guys, so be prepared for that. It's getting a little bit crazy. But yes, welcome. We're your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And we're glad you're here to judge with us on this beautiful, rainy Pacific Northwest day where I am.
It's kind of cloudy.
Well, you know, same. We're basically in the
It's
same
still
place.
like that weird springtime where it's like, do I need a hoodie today? Do I just need to wear shorts? What's happening?
I know. Is that
Every day's an adventure.
I super hate trying to figure out what to wear to work because it's always like a solid 7 to 10 degrees warmer in the town I work in versus where I live. So in the morning,
because you're like
when
right
I leave,
on the river, so I bet that makes it colder,
well,
right?
and we're higher altitude, but also we're in the mountains technically still, and my work town is not. They're on the edge of the high desert, which means it snows and can get cold there, but it's usually drier and warm. But so I never know what to wear because either my office is unimaginably freezing or it is hellscape. I don't. There's no middle ground.
It's either meat locker or hell.
Yes. So like I have a little heater that I turn on frequently because it gets pretty cold. And then I also have ceiling fans that I also turn on frequently because it gets really hot. And there's not a lot of rhyme or reason to it.
And there's no
sometimes
it's either one or the other.
Well, because my office is upstairs and it's mostly glass walls. So in theory, it's like it should be hot up there. Heat rises, yada yada. But sometimes it's really cold up there and really freaking hot downstairs at the circ desk. You just can't stand it.
Yeah, that's odd.
So, layers. You know, the reasons librarians wear cardigans have nothing to do with us having a work outfit is that for some reason they cannot keep libraries in real temperature control zones. I don't know why. Not one single library that I have ever worked at has been consistent with their heating and cooling. So, nightmare.
So it's really not climate controlled. Gotcha.
No, not at all. And our heat pump / air conditioning is original to the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, our director's not super into making building improvements, which
yay!
Not super great because I'm pretty sure one of these days my office is going to collapse into a pile of rubble down the hill that we overlook because there's a weird the floor downstairs. You know how floors are supposed to be like, you know, nice. Wow, that's weird. Nice and flat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. There we go. Like that. This is a floor. Oh, hold on. This is a floor. This is our floor.
So it like slopes?
The edge of the floor pops up. Like the incline, because the floor is broken. Like the concrete it's settled. Pretty sure it's collapsing, but no one cares. But we discovered that actually the incline that it has created on one of our walls on the floor is no longer ADA compliant. It's more steep than a wheelchair ramp is allowed to be. I'm like, You were
Oh
gonna die.
no.
I have made everyone promise that should the building collapse while I'm in my office, because my office, of course, is on the worst, is like right over the worst spot.
Of course.
Of course. I'm like, if the building should collapse, you will dig me out because I'm still alive, just out of spite. So find me.
Like, find my body.
It's like, I'm not dead. I'm still alive, and I'm angry as hell because
Right.
I told you this building was going to collapse.
Oh my gosh.
Oi, oi.
Well, what are you judging this week? Or was that your judge? Was your building?
That is my constant judge. The building that I work in is a never-ending judge. But no, my judge this week. So here's the thing. I have student loans because everyone almost got student loans because we were told all sorts of things like,
except me.
I know. I'm so glad for you, but it doesn't really matter. Most everybody ended up getting student loans. We were told all sorts of things like go to the best college you get into, you know, it's worth it. Get any degree you want because it just matters that you have a degree.
Yes.
You know, it's student loan is a good debt, blah, 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 blah. We were all told this stuff. Our parents told us this stuff. The world told us this stuff. The people giving us the student loans told us this stuff. Now, I'm very fortunate. I'm able to pay mine. I mean, I will be paying them off probably until I die because I don't really care that hard, but whatever.
You're not like, oh, let me make extra payments, whatever.
I mean, I do. I'm actually about to pay one off. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll have one left that I'm not going to lie. I am secretly hoping that the world changes and Biden gets rid of student loan debt because I've been paying on it for like 15, 18 years. And it's stupid and asinine. But the thing that makes me irrationally angry are the people who are against something being done to help with the student loan crisis. I mean, it's really what it is. There's a whole generation of people who are unable to maybe get a house or get married or have the freedom to move or do things because they're tied down with student loan debt, or they can't get another loan because of the debt, or whatever. But there are people, and I see them on Facebook, that are like, us hardworking Americans shouldn't have to pay off your debt, or I paid mine off, so you should have to too.
But they're not paying it off.
No, they're not. But that's a different argument.
That's what drives me crazy is like, I shouldn't have to pay off your student loan debt. And it's like, but you're not.
You're not.
That's not what's happening here. I don't know what you all think is happening, but it's not what you think is happening. So
but the thing that makes me angry is that it's this sense that I suffered and other people suffered, so you should have to suffer too.
Right.
And I'm like,
that kind of mentality.
I am super fortunate. I have always had an excellent, safety net. My parents are amazing. If I've had a financial problem or situation come up, they have always been able to help bail me out. And I am very fortunate to have that because a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat.
I get that privilege. And I will forever be grateful that I happened to be born to a family that had, for whatever reason, able to get a little extra money to help out their kids. So
not so much when I was growing up.
Same as an adult.
Yes, as an adult, like as kids and students, and I don't really remember it so much when I was elementary school because I don't think you notice it.
No.
But mostly middle school and high school, and it was when my mom quit being a teacher's aide, and went back to school to be a teacher. Is when I think we felt it the most because she taught, or she was the aide all through school, all through her, the college stuff. I mean, she had gone to college previously. She just didn't have a teaching degree.
Right.
Degree. And she taught, or she still did the teacher's aide thing all while doing her schooling until she had to, what's the word for it?
Student teach.
Yes, that's it. Until she had to student teach. Then you have to quit. You can't be a teacher and student teach.
You can't get paid.
You don't get paid for student teaching.
You don't. It's a class.
So you are basically like free labor in that respect. You you go, I mean, I get it. You're going in, you're learning, that kind of thing. But then once you get to a certain point, like you're teaching the classes and the other teacher just kind of sits by and observes you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your teachers from your college come in and observe, and the principal and all that jazz, and they rate you and yada yada. But while you're doing that, you're not getting paid for any of it.
Right.
So we lost an entire income in our family when I was probably 8th grade ish,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around. Because I think mom finally got hired when I was a sophomore in high school, maybe. You know, I feel like if you're student teaching, you should get some kind of compensation for that, because you basically have to quit any other jobs. It's ridiculous.
Well,
It's
but I
so
mean,
fucking
it's
ridiculous. And the fact that it's
generally
like,
it's that
I want you, like, yeah, and
you're
it'd be like
still
my
in
mom telling me we had to struggle, so I want you to struggle.
yeah.
You know, like,
And that's what,
what?
to me, that's what makes me crazy, is that, I try to recognize where my privilege is.
Yeah.
I don't always do a good job. There's a lot of things that I don't at all even consider. For example, we have an author who's doing an author event for us next week, and she went to Uganda as a Peace Corps volunteer when she was 64. So it was like,
Oh,
whoa,
wow.
wow.
Yeah.
And in one of her chapters, she talks about the reality of, you know, menstrual cycles keeping girls from being able to be educated and participate in school and learning because they don't have anything
Access.
to. It's not like here where,
Yeah.
and like Oregon has become pretty good. I think there is a law now that every public place has to provide, or schools at least have to provide free menstrual products because not everyone can afford them. But like,
Yeah.
that's one of those things that don't even cross my mind because
Right.
we've always had access to tampons and pads or whatever. That's never been something, well, we can't buy that this month. you know
Right.
so there's a lot of things that I don't realize are privilege, of course, because we live in a world in which it's not always so obvious. But I do know how hard it is for people to be able to pay these student loans. For some people, I mean, it's not. I'm lucky. Mine's like $170 a month, which is negligible in the grand scheme of all things. My cell
Wow.
phone
Because
bill
I
is more
know
than that.
people who have
yeah,
like, I know people who have like
yeah.
$600 and $700 a month
And
payments. I
that's
mean,
the
that's
thing.
like
That's
a house payment.
well, and it's a half or a third of their paycheck, and
Yes.
that's obscene, and that's them paying the bare minimum, really. I mean,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and don't at me with the whole, well, they should have gone to a cheaper college or they should have picked a different major or whatever. That's not what we were told. Um,
And
and
that's true
and we
because,
all went into it with and I authentically think our parents believed it too, because before it was
mm-hmm.
any college degree, you get a job, you get a good paying job, it's fine. But things have changed, and then there are these people who are saddled with this ridiculous amount of debt, and
Yep.
they're trying, like, they're not trying to shirk their
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities. They're trying really hard, but because they're saddled with this debt, all of their money is not going into the economy. They're the ones that are still
Right.
living at home with mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are needing government help and assistance in order to do the basic things of life because they can't afford anything other than their student loan payment. So I'm
You know, and
like,
I know somebody who went to like a tech college, okay, 2 year,
mm-hmm,
and they're telling this person that, 2 years and you can get a job and you'll
mm-hmm,
be making
yeah,
90,000, 100,000. And this was like a decade ago.
yeah,
Okay. When this
mm-hmm.
was going down, when they're telling this,
And that's
and,
what they do.
had,
I had the same
they had
thing.
their parents helps, like co-sign to get these loans so they could go to
Mm-hmm,
this tech school. And now it's like, no, it was a lie. I mean, the 90,000, $100,000 job,
mm-hmm,
that's like maybe 1%.
yeah.
That's not the standard of the people who graduated from that tech school. And so it's like you wind up getting all these student loans, and it's for what? for 2 years, you I don't even know what the student loan amount was, but I think it was something over like 25,000 each year. You know, and you're like,
And
for
it's
2 fucking years. You know, it's like, come on.
and so like I just want to go back to, please check your privilege. Just because you were fortunate enough to be able to pay off your loans, or maybe never had to get loans because mommy and daddy paid for them for you, which good for you. My parents helped me out a crap ton. I never would have made it this far without them.
That's
Are
what
you
I say.
kidding?
In my case was my parents saved money for both my brother and I from when we were born. I mean, we're talking like every month and year or whatever, they would put money in this account. My grandparents, both grandmothers, put money in this account for both of us. I had an account, my brother had an account.
And that's great. And
so that's how it wasn't
the
like
reality is
I got student loans and mom and dad paid them off for me.
We are now in a place
I never had to get any.
Right. We are now in a place where the people who have kids are paying off their own student loans, so they can't put money aside for their kids, so they don't have to.
And yes,
and that's where we
100%,
are. And so we're just
yes.
perpetuating the cycle over and over because, yes, our generation, we now know that whole college thing is a shtick. Go to whatever college you can afford, because in the end, it doesn't really matter at all. You know, do what feels right for you. No one cares where you went. Because I've met all sorts of people who went to the best colleges that are absolute idiots. So I don't care.
And also, these people who are also perpetuating this, when they went to college, it was like my dad went to Wake Forest in the 70s.
Right.
And I think he paid like $2,000
well,
a year.
And that's the thing. It's
something like that. It's not the same.
And so back then, you could have a part-time job, go to college, and pay for your college. And you can't do that now. You couldn't pay for college with a full-time job.
Yeah.
Like, that's just where we are. So please stop all of your hate. Please stop acting like you're better than other people because you were able to maybe not get loans or pay off your loans or whatever. Maybe you did get that big figure job and you feel like everyone else should be able to too. Well, check your privilege and know that this is not about you and that your desire for other people to suffer because you suffered or because you did it, that's shitty. And by the way,
absolutely,
100% of the people that I see perpetuating that bullshit on Facebook are the Christian bullshit crowd that make me irrationally angry. Because I'm like, your actual job is to help people and to be considerate and kind and understanding and have empathy. Not this bullshit. I'm like, what the fuck?
100%. And like, I saw, what was it? I read an article about Laura Ingraham had some kind of tweet talking about how her mom waitressed or something until she was 75 years old to help put kids through college and all that stuff. And that was like the thing, you know, like, well, my mom worked hard, so you have to work hard too. And it's like,
your mom worked hard,
that's where the system is broken, because you just shouldn't want other people to work until they're 75 years old to pay for their kids' fucking college.
But it's also, I mean, maybe I'm wrong because I have some pretty great parents, but my understanding of parents is that you do things so that your kids won't have to, so that they have a better life than you. Your goal is to make it easier and better for them so they don't have to go through your struggles. Just like we went through all the boys will be boys, absolute bullshit of our youth, and we put the kibosh on that nonsense when we hit adulthood. There is no boys will be boys. That's done. We're over that bullshit.
Not anymore, no. Absolutely not.
So but I'm like...
No, I completely agree with you, because again, people who think like, oh, I'm going to pay. No, you're not.
You're not.
You're not paying. The college system is broken. College should not be as expensive as it is to attend. Because it's like...
Well, and especially when...
Is it worth it? Is it worth that money? Because I feel like most colleges at their core are the same.
Yeah.
As far as like amenities and things like that. You know, some of these bigger colleges, you probably have more to offer as far as like amenities and blah, blah, blah. But still, it's like, why are you charging people that much money to live in a dorm?
And
dorms are not special. Dorms are not what you see on TV shows and movies. They are like cell blocks.
Well,
they're
but
just
that's
like
not even
concrete jungles.
That's not what dorms are anymore. They're all, and I did pick a college based on dorms because I hate dorm life.
Yeah.
But they are all going to like the little mini apartment suite concept now because
Yes.
dorms are awful and sharing
They
a
are.
shower with 70 other people is disgusting. So
Yes.
they have kind of edited that. But
And that's
colleges
good because
charge
it's like
so much money when honestly the vast majority of people teaching your classes are TAs who are being paid next to nothing because they're getting education, or they're adjunct professors who are getting paid next to nothing, even though they have piles of student loan debt from the stupid university itself.
And, a lot of the adjunct professors have other jobs.
Yeah.
It's like, you get these people who have 3-4 jobs and just to pay their student loans off, and like you said, it is a lie what they tell you. Like, oh, if you get this degree, you'll be able to make X amount of money once you graduate, but it's not the case. Not the case at all. And so it is like, I feel like the whole college system is broken.
Yes.
The loan system is been broken for a long time.
Yes.
But, and
yeah. So
again,
ultimately,
I don't have any debt, but like I said, I absolutely recognize my privilege and I realize how lucky I am in that aspect. I really do. So it's like,
but so all of this really, sorry, all of this really to say that, I'm picking specifically at this because I've seen a couple of Facebook posts this week and it just made me really angry because like it's specifically people that I know have mommies and daddies like mine that absolutely would help them no matter what. So I know that they never were in a situation where they couldn't pay their student loan, or if they even had one. I actually suspect mommy and daddy paid it already. So
or they're like, oh, let me default on my student loans this month because I need to buy food.
Right.
Like these people have never been in that kind of situation.
And so, and I'm watching people like comment and agree on them that are boomers who have no concept of what college was like for us and how much loan and debt is out there, how much lies we were fed, going through high school into college.
Prior to,
I mean, and again, I don't think that our teachers or our parents were trying to lead us astray. It's just things changed very quickly, as they do. And so there's a whole generation of people who are in a bad place financially. And that impacts the economy entirely. So, but to me, it's beyond that. It's that desire. The thing that I'm super judging this week is that desire that people should suffer because you suffered or you were able to deal with it and it wasn't a problem for you. So therefore, they should have to too. And that is, it makes me irrationally angry. It's your privilege. You don't know how good you have it. You don't know how lucky you are. So other people don't have those fail-safe systems, and don't be a dick about it. Don't make other people suffer just because you did. I'm just not okay with it.
And I think that goes for any aspect.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's student loans or, something that happened in your life and somebody similar is going through it and you want them to suffer the way you did. Like,
right?
Why not?
It's so
why do you
horrible.
want people to suffer? Why do you want people to suffer? Like, I would think that if you have gone through it, you know how terrible it is.
Yeah, that you would want to keep
Help
people
them.
from having to go through that.
Right.
But it, again, is another reason why I don't go to church and I don't participate in any kind of organized religion, because I get most of that speak from people who self-identify as Christians. Like, in that way of, I'm a Christian and I love Jesus. And they're also bizarrely semi-patriotic in the same breath, and I can't quite understand how all of that goes together, but whatever. So if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not because you didn't like me growing up, but we're Facebook friends. I saw your post and I think you're a dick. Check your privilege.
Well, that was excellent.
Thank you. All right. All right, Claire, what's your judge for the week?
I don't know. I've been going back and forth. Okay, so let me tell you, this is super quick because I don't even know this person. Okay, don't know this person.
Good.
Brandon was telling me it's a guy he works with, and this guy is constantly talking about, he's on 8 dating apps, blah blah blah. Brandon's going to have to go to Missouri with him next month. Actually, there's like 3 or 4 of them from their office. They're going to Missouri to open a new clinic. and they're setting up the IT stuff, all the computers.
I feel like I need to just go ahead and say, I'm sorry. I mean, no offense to Missouri, but that does not sound like a fun field trip. That's all.
No, he's going to be there for like a week. Ugh. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And he was telling me that this guy is talking about being on these dating apps and this girl he's talking to, and he just goes, oh man, I don't even want to say it. It's so bad. He goes, oh man, she's such a cum dumpster.
Oh my God. What in the actual hell?
And I was just like, what? Like, I was so offended when he told me that story.
What the hell is that supposed to mean? Like, what is that to say she's hot, or that she's sexy, or she just wants to have sex? Like, what is that in reference to?
Honestly, I think it's another word for whore, to be honest.
Okay, well then now I'm super
he said that he also uses the term cum slut a lot too.
That I don't like.
And I'm just like,
no.
But yeah, he said cum dumpster first, and I was just like,
wow,
what? That, oh my gosh.
Okay, what? I'm sorry. That is the most hysterical word I've ever heard, because what the actual fuck does that mean? But how horrifically offensive. I hope to God he gets hit in the face by like a 2x4 or something while they're out there installing the IT. Because why?
I mean, Brandon told me that, and I was so incredibly, I don't get offended by words that much. But that was like, excuse me?
Oh my God.
I'm like, this person exists? This person is out there living and dating women? Ew.
I feel like
Ew. Like, just, I don't even know what this guy looks like. He could be the hottest person on the planet, and I still would be like, but you said that.
It's like,
so
you're not a good person, okay?
No.
Ladies, if you're out there on the dating apps, be forewarned that there's some jackweed who thinks that cum dumpster in a that cum dumpster is an acceptable term for a woman who, I guess, probably just enjoys sex. It's fine. She's allowed to. My God, stop being so judgy. God. Sex is fun.
I mean, I just, yeah. Like I said, obviously I say my fair share of words, but that one, I guess it's just those two words together. Was like, what? Oh, I was. And I told the girls at work, and they both were just like, kind of like me, flabbergasted and taken aback. And they both were like, oh my gosh.
That is horrifying.
Oh, yes, I was horrified. And I was like, I was just like, what is this? I don't understand. And so now it's just like, but Brandon was like, you make sure you tell them I did not say that. Like, that was not I'm like, oh no. I prefaced the whole thing with you going to Missouri.
I know that not if he had said that, you would have punched him in the face immediately and been like, absolutely not.
I've been like, that is inappropriate and unacceptable. I am sorry. Just stop it.
I mean, I can't get over it.
Stop referring to people as ugh. Gosh.
I mean, I won't lie. There's a cleverness to it that makes me laugh, like the fuck. But
right.
But when you get down to it, meant to be derogatory, and it's demeaning, then I'm like, okay, see, now you're a terrible person. You're not like making a funny joke about something that's not right, but like you're actually like, she's a whore, and so she's just a cum dumpster. And like, well, if a guy had talked about sex, I guess, as much as perhaps this particular woman did, they'd be like, yeah. So it's that makes me angry. It's like, it's fine for guys to have sex. It's also fine for girls to have sex. You can have as much as you want or as little as you want. It's up to you and what you're comfortable with. And fuck everybody else.
Indeed. But yeah, my judge was that word.
That's
and I was
amazing.
It's
amazing that we still live in a time when people feel comfortable to say shit like that to other people.
Right? Because Brandon was telling me, he said, I think he's like in his 40s. And I'm like, Right?
Ew! Like,
and I'm
I
like, does
thought it
he
was
still
maybe
live
like
in
a
his parents'
20
basement?
That was like a 20-year-old dick that hasn't figured out, like, his brain's still
Right.
broken, at which point you're like, stop being stupid. 40?
There's some Gen X douche canoe.
Probably an incel who thinks everyone should be, like, having sex with him. I bet that's what it is. 90%. He's all, butthurt because she doesn't want to have sex with him, and he thinks that every woman should have sex with him because he's a man. It's probably that incel bullshit that makes me angry.
That's what I was like, is he still living in his parents' basement? What is happening here?
And he has Playboy bunny posters all over as well.
100%. But yeah, that was my judge, was that word.
Wow.
that term.
That's amazing.
I was just like...
That is horrifying, amazing, funny, and disturbing.
I was mortified. Yeah, I was horrified, mortified, all the things.
I feel like if I were to channel my energy, it's gonna be into hoping that he like falls down and busts open his face or something. Oh no. It needs to be a penis injury. Because I mean, I'm just saying.
Right. That would only be appropriate.
Don't be dicks. It's not hard, guys. Just
stop it.
Don't judge people unless you're us. We're allowed.
Yes, only us. No, I'm kidding. Oh, but also in that same vein, I want to judge. I found this chick on TikTok, and I can't remember what her username is, but I've sent her some of her videos. Sent you some of her videos. She reads romantic, like erotic novels.
Yes,
but the authors, these are male authors who describe women
and have no concept at all.
And it's like, what universe are you talking about? Because this is not reality. These are actually, it's not like these are fantasy novels. It's like they talk about women's boobs, like,
I was gonna say my favorite,
spinning like propellers, and you're like, wait, what?
My favorite is when a woman sees a guy who she thinks is really attractive and her uterus quivers, and like that's not a thing. That doesn't happen.
You're like, that's
our uteruses don't quiver. I'm sorry.
Or the one where it was like, there was what I saw where she's reading it, and it's this man talking to this woman about her period is coming up, but they're getting ready to go to the beach, and how she just mentally stopped her period from coming so as not to ruin their beach trip. And I'm like, that is absolutely not how that works.
That was real, because I would use that to be like,
Same. I'm gonna meditate hard enough to stop this from coming. Like, God.
Well, and I swear there was one, because I have watched several of those, where she's on her period, but he wants to have sex, and so miraculously his love and their sexual attraction makes her period just stop. And I'm like, two things here. One, that doesn't happen. Two, you can still have sex while you're having a period. It's a personal call. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but you can. Yeah, it's fine. There's no bad thing that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
just take a shower when you're done. You're fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Get you some wipes. It's fine. but yeah, it was just, I just felt like all that kind of went in together. Like, what is happening?
I feel like, and every time I watch one of hers, I'm reminded of the fact that we need better sex ed classes in school. Because how did these people make it all the way to adulthood and believe this?
1,000%. Let me see if I can find her name real quick so I can tell you people to go look her up.
That's
because
right,
she's
hysterical.
And she'll like squirt the screen.
Oh, is
she'll
she?
Be like, stop
it.
Yes,
it's I have her. She's in my thing.
Atomic Apple Pie.
It's like, that's one of the few people I follow, because I don't follow a whole lot.
She's hilarious.
But yes.
But she does these.
I love when she squirts like the screen. She's like, stop it.
She's got like a whole thread where she just reads excerpts from erotic novels when they're getting ready to get busy, and how these men describe these women and what their bodies do, and you're just like, that's made up. That's not a thing.
Oy.
Anyway, yeah. So
those are excellent judges. I will always enjoy those.
Oh God.
I love it. Okay. Well, so to represent my Pacific Northwest, what?
I got my Bigfoot shirt on.
That's right. This
my
week's
Bigfoot shirt.
episode is all about Bigfoot. Yay!
Yes.
All right. So I think I go first this week.
Yes, okay. It's your turn.
That's good because I decided. I'm gonna tell you. Okay. First, I'm gonna preface this conversation with I love all things Bigfoot / Sasquatch because fun, good times.
Yes.
In fact, this week at work, we were practicing our new heat press that we have, and we made one of our coworkers. His name is Bob, because every library has one. Everyone I've ever worked at has had a Bob.
Has had a Bob.
Weird. It's weird. But so
that is weird.
We decided to make a Bigfoot mug, and so it's like Bigfoot giving like the peace sign outline, and then underneath it, my idea. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and take credit. It was like Bob Squatch.
Yes. I love it.
Thank you. I was very proud. We are doing a Bigfoot program at the library this summer, and I'm super excited about it. We have like an authentic,
that's awesome.
An authentic expert, I guess is the word I want to choose. Who has like Bigfoot, like
field researcher,
right? In his day-to-day life, he's a child psychologist, so he's not like super crazy, which makes it even better.
Okay, gotcha.
So like an authentic person who's super into it, and I'm here for that. But he has like a cast of like the Bigfoot foot that he's found.
Oh,
and he's
okay.
So yes. I'm here for it. I'm pro all of this. Pacific Northwest is Bigfoot land. Everybody, there's lots of terrain for Sasquatch. Because I learned they are Sasquatch. One specific Sasquatch was Bigfoot, and the term just kind of stuck.
Okay, gotcha. So one Sasquatch was named Bigfoot.
Yes, and it just kind
of... It was like Shamu.
Yes, it's like Shamu.
So they're all Shamu?
But they're all Shamu.
Gotcha.
So we're just going to kind of start from the beginning. I'm going to tell you that I got my information from Livescience, Wikipedia, and a documentary on HULU called Sasquatch.
Ooh, I'll have to watch that.
You will, but I'm going to spoil it all for you, so
okay.
You should still watch it.
Gotcha.
It's fascinating. Okay, so I will tell you, most Bigfoot sightings happen in the Northwest. What? And here, the Sasquatch is linked to myths and legends from the indigenous people from the area. There were several Native American indigenous people tribes before, we came and fucked it all up.
Yes. Right. Mm-hmm.
And so the word Sasquatch is derived from I'm going to mess this up.
Okay.
You're
like, just preface.
A Malem language.
Okay.
That was used by the Salish First Nations in this area. It's derived from the word Saskets, which means wild man or hairy man. But so they had all sorts of legends and myths about this big hairy ape man creature long before we came. Maybe it was us. I don't know, but as early as 1884, a British colonial newspaper in Victoria, Canada, which is beautiful, highly recommend everyone visiting. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Published that there was an account of a gorilla-type creature in the area. That's one of the first published sightings of the Sasquatch.
When was this?
This was 1884.
Okay. So it's been a while.
Yes.
He's been around for a while.
Well, and according to the indigenous people, he's always been around.
Yeah.
Like for hundreds of years.
Gotcha.
But in the 19th and 20th century, there were about 1,300 sightings that have been recorded or gathered that people are aware of. But the modern Bigfoot Sasquatch that we're familiar with didn't really come to life until the 1950s.
Okay.
So that's when it got super popular, because in 1958, in the Humboldt Times, which is in Northern California, which looks a lot like Oregon and Washington, one big, super forested, densely high terrain, mountainous areas where people don't super live. There was a discovery of giant mysterious footprints near Bluff Creek. And in the story, they referred to the creature that made them as Bigfoot. And that is where we get it from. So they named that creature who made those prints that they hadn't seen. They named that creature Bigfoot. And then here we are, Bigfoot.
And then it just... Sasquatch, Bigfoot, it's all interchangeable.
Yeah, well, yeah. So now we just call them all things. So that started kind of curiosity of Bigfoot and became super popular. Let's see. And so that was like 1958. But in 2002, the grandchildren, or the children of Ray Wallace, claimed that he had died at that point. Claimed that he had actually put the feet there as a prank. The imprints there.
Okay.
But I don't know. And I say that because in this documentary that I ended up watching, a lot of people claim to be part of a hoax, and other people are like, no. So I don't know. Because there's the whole idea that they just wanted the attention of,
like, oh, look what I did.
Hoax. I did this, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know.
It's like...
But the most famous Bigfoot evidence was a short film taken in 1967 by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, known as the Patterson-Gimlin film. And we've all seen it. It was shot also in Bluff Creek, and it shows the large, hairy, bipedal, ape-like creature, quote-unquote Bigfoot, striding through the clearing. We've all seen it. He's walking, and then it's like a turn.
It's the one where he, like, turns, and he's all like...
Yeah. That one.
That, like, iconic, where you get all the silhouettes from for Bigfoot. Yeah.
Yes. But so in the Sasquatch documentary, they talk to Gimlin, which, wow. And he said that he and Patterson were just super interested in Bigfoot, and they went out horseback riding in the wild terrain for 21 days straight, trying to find evidence of Bigfoot, when they finally came across on the other side of a creek. And they get their old school video camera thing out to take footage of it. And apparently, according to Gimlin, that Bigfoot was a she Bigfoot. And they claim that, and lots of people from here in the area that tell me Bigfoot's real, as well as that I saw in documentaries and read about, they say that if you are downwind from a Bigfoot, because of the smell. Like, it's the worst body odor, most horrific smell ever. And that's
something that I've, like, in mind, like, people have described a smell, and it's just like, that doesn't sound pleasant.
No, it does not.
At all.
And so Gimlin says that they smelled this Bigfoot, and they called it like a musk, like maybe this female Bigfoot was in heat looking for a partner, and I'm like, this is way too much information than what I needed.
Oh my gosh.
But also in the documentary, Gimlin has a neighbor named Bob, LOL.
All the Bobs.
All the Bobs.
Okay.
And Bob claims that he's the one that dressed up in that costume for them to film. And Gimlin's like, no, he didn't. And Bob is like, no, you can totally see my wallet in the back pocket. And Gimlin's like, Bob is like 5'9", 5'10", and in this video, it's very obviously like a 7 or 8 foot tall thing.
Yeah, this is not.
But it's funny to me because they're like neighbors and they don't speak to each other, but they wave at each other. They wave nicely. Like,
that's so weird that somebody would try to, like,
so I'm like,
debunk it. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Again, I told you it's like weird. I was the guy dressed up, and also it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. He's like, yeah, I was afraid he's going to get shot by a hunter or something. And I'm like,
okay, that's
okay.
what, no.
I don't understand.
I don't either.
So weird. But so it's kind of like the background, a super quick, this is Bigfoot. Is where we started, how we got here. Primarily, Bigfoot is in the Pacific Northwest, although there are sightings all the way through the Appalachians. It tends to be more mountainous, lonely terrain where people aren't hanging out.
Yeah, I've read that when I was looking at mine, there has been at least one sighting in every single state except for Hawaii.
Well, it's not really
Yeah,
a Bigfoot
but like you
territory.
said, yeah, the majority are like, I mean, there's several out here,
Mm-hmm.
along the Appalachian Trail, that kind of thing.
But one of my favorites was a guy doing an interview who is, I don't remember. He was some kind of like legitimate scientist, like not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always appreciative when it's someone that is well educated in a somewhat
Yeah.
relatable field. Because I'm like, oh, okay. But he is a super Bigfoot expert in Idaho. And, he kind of debunks the whole, no one's ever seen a Bigfoot carcass and no one is able to prove Bigfoot or whatever. And he's like, it's these very kind of isolated areas that Sasquatch roam. He said, at the most there might be 300 Sasquatch in Idaho, might be at the absolute most based on his whatever. And he said there's 12 times that of black bear, and no one ever sees them either because they stay in these remote areas. They don't come out. No one comes across a dead black bear just chilling in dead and decaying carcass.
Yeah.
So he's like, we can see signs and evidence of, footprints and scat and hair and stuff like that, which, they have found of Bigfoot. So he uses the same logic of we don't see them either, and there's way more of them. And Sasquatch are in these same remote areas that people are not. So I was like, okay, I'm here for it.
I mean, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
So I'm going to talk to you about how a Sasquatch may have murdered 3 people.
Ooh. Look at you turning Bigfoot into true crime.
I know. So this is what the documentary was about. So again, it's called Sasquatch, and it's on HULU. It's a 3-part documentary. Each episode is like 45 minutes. So in 1993, an investigative journalist named David, I think it's Holthouse, and I've typed it wrong. I have it here as Hothouse, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. I think it's Holthouse.
Holthouse.
It's 1993. David Holthouse is starting a brand new job, working on a cannabis farm in the isolated terrain of Mendocino County in Northern California. Now, this is not a legal marijuana farm. This is one of those illegal ones because it's the 90s when marijuana was the first step into the slippery slide of being a terrible human being drug head. I don't know.
It's the gateway drug.
we're at prime, you should know, in the early 90s. We're in the middle of the war on drugs. The Reagans declared war on drugs in the early 80s. So hardcore insanity happening at this point. So he it ends up on this farm, and it's his very first day there, and he's, this is all illegal. He knows that. He's young. It's fine.
Yep.
And his very first day there, I'm just going to go with workers. I'm not sure what you call people who are working on this farm.
Employees.
Criminals? I don't know. Whatever you want to call them.
Employees.
But they are telling him, you have to be careful. There are Sasquatch in the area, and they're violent. They'll sometimes they're very aggressive. Sometimes they'll throw things at you, throw rocks. They'll come charging at you. It's very scary. They're one of our biggest concerns because it's terrifying. Wow. And he's like, are you just like razzing me because I'm new? I'm the new guy.
Right, yeah. And is this a joke?
He's just kind of like, okay, whatever. But then, let's see, the second night. Oh, I should tell you a little bit about the area. So he is in Mendocino County, which is part of the Emerald Triangle, which is 3 counties in Northern California that are essentially the greatest places to ever grow weed ever, because weed grows beautifully and amazingly and tastes better and thrives and is magic.
Okay.
But it's also, again, illegal. So they're up in really hard terrain. Everything basically that comes in is packed in on like your back. You know, people,
Okay, gotcha.
you know, go into where the weed is actually grown. It's hard to get to try and hide it from the DEA and all that. So it's very spooky. It's very isolating. You know, it's the woods. It's creepy.
It's not like something you could just drive to.
Mm-hmm. But so all of that, he's hearing about Sasquatch being all threatening. And he's like, okay. But the second night, his second night there, he is with the we'll go with owner. They usually call them growers, like that. Mm-hmm. That is the main person of the particular crop. They are at his house. Cabin might be a better word for it. It's not next to the marijuana, because you don't put your home next to your illegal crop.
Yeah.
But it's still isolated and away. And so they're at his house. He's there with another couple of guys that are also workers. And he's just sitting on a couch, chilling, when the grower gets a phone call. And the grower's like, okay, well, and all he hears is, okay, well, bring him here, but like, try and get him to mellow out. Calm him down. Just mellow him out. You know, just come straight here. And so, David is just kind of like, the hell is happening? You know, I've only been here for like 24 hours. Cool.
This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. And so a few minutes later, a couple of guys come in. They're both freaking out, but one is super freaking out. And turns out that they were workers at another grower in another place. Yeah. And they went to check on their crop where they had 3 workers. They're watching, because you have to have someone there all the time to watch, because you don't want to get ripped off.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And the 3 workers were dead.
All 3 of them.
They were dead. And so David is overhearing this conversation, and his boss, his grower, is saying, well, you know, did they just get ripped off? Meaning, did someone come steal the crop, you know, and kill them, steal the crop? And like, no, the crop's still there. Like, it's been pulled up a little bit, and some of it's shredded, but it's still there. And it's like, and the 3 guys, they were dead. They were mangled and torn to pieces.
Oh, snap.
And so David remembers the guy that was freaking out the most saying, I'm telling you, man, a Bigfoot killed those guys.
Wow. When you say torn to pieces, are we talking like dismembered? Or did they clarify?
So he never saw the bodies. But so like, but this guy,
I mean, I didn't know if the documentary like went into it more or.
Well, and I'll tell you what happens next. But so like but the guy's freaking out. He's like, they're torn to pieces. You know, the crop's still there. This isn't about getting someone's marijuana. This is something came in and ripped their bodies apart and threw them around. You know, it sounded pretty horrific. But so David's just like, the hell?
Yeah.
So this was 1993. So fast forward to, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. At this point, David is all grown up, and he's actually an investigative journalist now, and has done several stories that have required him to kind of go undercover. Like, it's about being in the group or whatever. So he has been part of different gangs in order to get stories from them. He infiltrated like a white supremacist group and did stories with like, I mean, he's that level investigative journalist.
Oh, wow.
So
So
super
he's almost like undercover cop level.
right. Um, and he
Oops.
just he remembers that night. Like he remembers hearing a Bigfoot killed those guys. He never like it, and it just always kind of stuck in his head. And he decided, I want to know, what happened. Like he had done kind of like general missing people reports, trying to see if did 3 guys go missing during that time or 3 bodies
Yeah.
discovered, and could never find information about either, like in all of his general search. But he's like,
Like nobody had been reported
right.
missing. They were
But
okay.
also it's, illegal drug territory. You're not gonna
Not gonna, yeah.
be like,
But I mean, but you also think that maybe those people's families might have reported them
yeah.
missing, I guess. Even if, regardless of what they were involved in, I don't know.
But so he decides he wants to try and figure this out. So he reaches out and finds a guy who was part of the grower lifestyle back in the 90s,
Uh-huh.
and interviews this guy. And this guy says he had also heard of several violent stories of growers encountering Bigfoots, himself included. He said he had instances where like the Sasquatch would come charging out at him to scare him or whatever. He's like, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. They growl. They throw rocks. It's horrifying. And he said, it made a lot of sense to him that Sasquatch, Bigfoots, whatever, were in the same areas as these growers tended to put their crops, because they were essentially looking for the same kinds of things, somewhere deep and remote and inaccessible, and somewhere that had water. That's what you need in order to hide your
Okay.
illegal drug crop and also grow it. But also, you're a Bigfoot, you don't like people.
Right.
So David ends up hiring a private investigator to kind of help him track down some other people, because he's not from that area. Like he's not from Northern California, so he's trying to find someone, some people who might be willing to talk to him. And so the private investigator found someone who also grew marijuana in the early 90s. And this person, most of these people, by the way, don't show up on camera, or their faces are blurred, or their voices are, deep throat,
distorted.
or,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
So this guy said he had also heard about the 93 incident where 3 people died. And he said that he understood that they were possibly Mexican nationals, and that their camp had been found, and that he too had heard their bodies had been torn apart, and that it was a story that went around among people, among growers and people in that drug community or whatever during the time when they would be like at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a story that they would hush undertones. Did you hear?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he told them that he thought it happened near a place called Spy Rock. Now, Spy Rock is kind of cool. It's very rugged and hard terrain, but it actually has some of the oldest petroglyphs carved into stone in North America. It happens to be at Spy Rock.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's a hard area to get to. Very rugged. Not a good place to go if you don't know what you're doing.
So these are areas for like super experienced hikers.
Yeah. Well, it's just
Mostly, yeah.
It's remote. There's not,
like if you got lost, you could be in a world of hurt kind of thing.
And kind of like, I didn't really include this in my story, but it was fascinating for the documentary. So they did a little explanation of the area. So a lot of hippies went there in like the 70s, to Northern California, to these kind of remote places. They were called back to the landers. Like they were trying to get back to just, outdoors. They had outhouses. They didn't have electricity. It was an intentional way to kind of go back to the earth or whatever. And so they were like little hippie communes, and they were mostly family oriented, and they had kids and schools. Like it was a community of like-minded people. And these people started growing marijuana, and that was, how they paid their bills. They sold marijuana. We all know hippies, marijuana, that tie, yada yada.
Yeah.
But then war on drugs came, and so they created. So the DEA was part of it, but also there's an organization called CAMP, and their sole goal was to go into these communities and destroy their crops and like arrest people who are growing it.
Okay.
So what started off as a bunch of hippie farmers growing marijuana that they sold here and there to make ends meet became people getting super paranoid. A lot of the families left, and so the people that remained, they went higher and more remote and trying to hide their weed and grow it where they couldn't be found. And that's when they started getting like the guns and the AK-47s and setting booby traps and like all this stuff. So war on drugs is the reason why all of this
things
really
became so violent.
Yeah. But so Spy Rock at this point is essentially, and it still is to this day. So yes, marijuana is currently legal on my side of the country.
Yes.
But the black market still is huge, much bigger than the quote-unquote white market. So there are still a lot of illegal marijuana growers in these areas, these remote areas in Northern California. Well, in Oregon and
because it's like
Washington.
if it it is legal, but it's highly regulated.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of stipulations, that kind of thing.
Right.
For growing and selling it.
So these people are still there. They still are heavily armed, and they set booby traps. So they're not your friendly hippie growing marijuana. These are
Gotcha.
These are scary people.
Gotcha. Yeah. These are what you think of when you think drug dealers,
and so
or drug growers.
Yeah. So that's the Spy Rock area, even to today. But so David ends up going to talk to a guy who goes by the name Razor, because why not?
Yes.
Who, unrelated to this story, apparently Razor was raised by Hell's Angels. I don't know.
Okay, that's why his
I was
name
like,
is Razor.
Okay. But Razor said that during the 90s, he too was working on a pot farm. And when he was there, all the people he worked with were also up in arms and were really worried about being attacked by Sasquatch. Like it was a super common fear that was going on during this time. And so he said that he doesn't, maybe it was a Bigfoot, maybe it wasn't, that did these murders, but he said that it might have been a hit carried out by the Hells Angels, who were also out there growing stuff, because,
Okay.
As a retaliation for messing with somebody's daughter.
Okay, gotcha.
But then he said, or it could have been an attempt to curry favor with one of the first quote-unquote commercial growers. So after the hippies left, it became people looking specifically to make money. It became very greed-driven, and as criminal enterprises go, it's filled with violence and mean people. But one of the first people who came to do kind of like big business commercial growing with the intent of selling, big market kind of a thing, was a guy whose nickname was Bigfoot Gary. And so Razor said that it might have been,
I love this.
It might have been like a hit to retaliate for raping Bigfoot Gary's daughter.
Okay.
So then David is like, well, all those years ago, did I hear a Bigfoot killed them, or did I hear Bigfoot killed them, like in reference to Bigfoot Gary?
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, ooh, that's, plot twist. I'm here for this.
Right.
But spoiler, it wasn't Bigfoot Gary.
Ah.
Bigfoot Gary wasn't in the area until like 96, 97, and his only daughter was born in the year 2000, so...
okay.
So it's rumor mill as it goes. Yada yada.
Gotcha.
Blah blah blah. But so David is like, he's been tracking this down. He's been tracking down a specific guy in Hells Angels whose name gets bleeped out because he doesn't want to be killed because it's scary people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because he's thinking, someone had to have killed these guys. surely it couldn't have been a Sasquatch or whatever.
Right, yeah.
But
Ever the skeptic.
finally after almost a year or over a year of trying really hard to track down the guy that he himself worked for back in 93, he finally has a phone call with the guy. And he's asking him about it. He's like, so, I remember this story. I was there when they said it. Like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell was that, And this is what his boss, his grower, told him.
Mm-hmm.
He said that Mexicans, not just these specific 3 guys, were working farms in the area, growing farms or whatever, to try and stake it out so that they could grow their own or they could take over. Because just like anyone, they're up here for money. Everybody's trying to make a living.
Oh, yeah.
Totally get it.
Everybody wants a piece of that pie.
That's right. And it was decided by the old timers, the OG criminal growers, I guess, that were still in the area,
Gotcha.
that these Mexicans needed to be taught a lesson.
Ew.
Because also very racist in this area. Spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
And so
not surprised.
the grower claims that all the Bigfoot stories that everyone was talking about and everyone was scared about and stuff were started as a way to try and scare off the Mexicans. Because someone had made the comment, well, if we just had like a chupacabra or something, we could scare them off. That's not racist at all.
No, not at all.
And someone else was like, we've got something better than a chupacabra. We've got Bigfoot.
So everybody is terrified of Bigfoot because they were racist and didn't want the Mexicans encroaching on their pot territory.
Right? And so, but like everyone, like all of their workers and stuff were freaking out because all these stories were being passed around and everyone was freaking out. And so, David was like, but what happened to those 3 guys?
Yeah.
And the grower was like, we went in, we had bolt cutters and pickaxes and forklifts, and we made it look like it was a Bigfoot. They set it all up so that they had one guy who knew what was going on take the guy that super was freaking out at the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
Took him to the area to find the bodies so that he would start the rumor that it was a Bigfoot that killed them all. And all of that
shady.
All of that to terrorize the other guys from Mexico. And so at the very end of it, David is like, I don't know if this is the true story, if this is the real story. I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's like, because everyone has been telling him multiple different things.
Yeah.
And throughout the documentary, like, it's back and forth, this true crime, who's killed these guys, and also Bigfoot stories and Sasquatch stories, and you just don't, like, at the end, he's like, well, I don't think a Sasquatch did it, but I'm sitting here going, how did they get a forklift up there, though? These are remote.
Right.
So,
right.
And, just like a myriad of other missing people in the area, the bodies are probably just buried somewhere. It's not like they reported it. But, one of the things they did mention is that there are, by the way, there are a lot of missing people in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington because there's so much wilderness. So people go missing all the time, which is why serial killers have a fun time up here, because people are like, oh, well, they probably just got lost.
Right.
In the woods somewhere.
They probably just wandered off the trail. It's fine.
But so there's actually a lot of Bigfoot believers who think that some of those missing people are missing because they ran into a Bigfoot.
Gotcha.
But so, I mean, I'll leave it up to you whether or not you think it was a racist murder to scare Mexicans away from pot farms in the early 90s, or if the Sasquatch got mad and finally took their revenge on 3 poor weed workers.
That's incredible.
But I will say that is only one story that has blamed a Bigfoot for the murders. And a notable mention, I'm just going to touch on it lightly because I'm hoping to do this in a future episode, is not a Sasquatch, but Sasquatch's cousin, the Yeti.
I do have Abominable Snowman and Yeti on
Oh,
the
good.
wheel.
Well, then I will be ready for it because the Yeti may be the cause of death of 9 people at the Dyatlov Pass on February 1st/2nd in 1959.
Ooh.
And so, just short little bit to tease you for when I get here. It was an experienced trekking group from the Ural Polytechnic Institute.
Ooh.
Led by Igor Dyatlov, hence the name, I guess. They were going to set up a camp on like the eastern slopes of a mountain. It's in Russia when it was still Soviet Union. But something happened overnight that caused them to cut their way out of their tent and flee from the campsite without shoes or socks in sub-zero temperatures.
Yes, I remember this story. Okay.
And
all
so,
right, cool.
It's after a while they went, searchers went to look for them, and they found the bodies and discovered that of the 9, 6 of them had died from hypothermia, but the other 3 had been killed from physical trauma. So 1 victim had major skull damage, 2 had severe chest trauma, another one had a small crack in his skull. 4 of the bodies were found lying in water at a creek, and 3 of those had soft tissue damage, like obviously animals or whatever, but 2 bodies had missing eyes, and I know birds like to go for the eyes, but 1 had a missing tongue, which is slightly weirder. But even more perplexing, 1 was missing their eyebrows.
That is bizarre. Because I think I've seen photos of the campsite of this.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll throw some of this up for funsies.
Okay.
But one of the reasons why a Yeti is a potential explanation, which I'll go into when we do finally cover this one, is that in kind of like their, what do they call them? And what do they call in England? Someone dies and they have it's in all the Pro movies. Inquest.
Yeah, okay, yes. Okay.
So close to Inquisition.
I was like, what are we looking for?
Okay. So they had like an inquest, which is sort of like a formal proceeding talking about it, and one of the experts said that the fatal injuries of the 3 bodies could not have been caused by human beings, because there was concern that maybe a local indigenous group, which was very peaceful and had never done anything ever, might have done it.
Yeah.
They didn't. But so at the inquest, there's like, a human did not cause this because the force of the blows had been too strong and no soft tissue had been damaged. So like, it's like some creature, Yeti, came and chased them out. Because, I mean, that's scary. It's scary. So
there's a flying bug, and it was like in my face.
It's one of my favorite theories of the Dyatlov Pass, which I will cover in great detail one day
when we hit abominable snowman /
Yeti. So just a little taster there. So just saying, although generally Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, etc., tend to be considered pretty docile creatures, like they just want to be left alone. They don't tend to come out. Don't make it angry. It might rip your limbs apart, or it might rip off your eyebrows, apparently. So, just saying. Bigfoot. And that is my story about Bigfoot.
Yay! Had a cryptid and drugs and true crime.
Yep. I had it all. I had absolutely no idea when I watched the documentary where it was going to go. It was just,
That's
It
kind of
was just
crazy.
like,
Yeah.
did Bigfoot kill 3 people in 1993? And like, I don't know. Did he?
Did he?
Let's find out.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I
Thank
loved it.
you. So, what story have
Yay.
you brought us on the Bigfoot?
So I've been looking up since I'm in Kentucky sightings of Bigfoot because apparently it's a
Ooh,
thing.
it is a thing.
It's a
I
thing.
have a friend who is from Kentucky. She's getting ready to move, but she she has this theory, or did. She since disproven it. She she did not think that bears were real because in all the times that she had been outside and hiking, she had never seen a bear, ever. And she's like,
Really?
bears aren't real. That's just a thing that we tell people. They're not real. But she also
And then she
believed
saw
in
one.
Bigfoot, and she's like, but Bigfoot's real. And she loves Bigfoot, and I like to give her Bigfoot things. But she has since seen a bear in real life, so she's like, oh, look, they're real, huh?
That's good.
I love it.
That's good to know. All right, but
But yes,
found a
Bigfoot is
couple
big in
of
Kentucky.
yeah, I found a few different stories. Again, like nothing is confirmed.
Well, yeah.
There's no yeah, you know. But there are people when if you think you might have seen Bigfoot, you can report it
Mm-hmm.
to not just authorities, but to like these Bigfoot groups, and they will come and interview you about all the things you saw and experienced, and then they'll like classify what kind of interaction you had,
Right.
kind of thing. So, but first off, let me preface this saying this first little bit, my boyfriend Brandon worked with this guy
Oh, goody.
in this story. There are like several news articles with this dude's name in them. Okay.
Okay.
And Brandon talked about how he would take off from work. Like that was his vacation. He'd leave for like a week or take like a really long weekend, and he'd be like,
I'm going
if he
Bigfoot
was on
hunting.
call,
Nice.
if he was supposed to be on call, he's like, well, I can't be on call because I'm going to be in the middle of the woods Bigfoot hunting. And the guy had like Bigfoot covers over his brake lights.
Okay, sure.
So yeah, this guy's hardcore into it.
I support
Anyway,
it.
so the article was like 2014, but this guy talked about, I guess he's had a couple of encounters with Bigfoot, and one of them happened in 2004, the Red River Gorge. His name is Rodney Adams. Um, and he's with the Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group.
Ooh.
But in the one in 2004, he was talking about how he was like, I guess they were out there camping, and he heard this low growl, and he thought it might have been somebody else like messing with their group. And then so they like threw something at the group, like a stick, and so he threw it back. But then he said later they're sitting there and like something came like whizzing by his head, like this thing is out there grunting and growling and throwing things.
Which is what they said in my story. Like
And
they were like,
yes,
that's what they do. So I'm like, okay, sure. I like the consistency.
and right. And so I guess in one of these encounters, I guess he got a glimpse of it. But he said it had hair all over the body other than the face itself. It looked more human than ape-like. It had a very large flat nose and a very wide pronounced nose. Their head is almost like a dome, and it also has a very ominous odor. It kind of smells like rotten garbage and wet dog all mixed together, which I'm like, that's pleasant. That's pleasant. This is a guy that my boyfriend used to work with when we first started dating, and he would talk about like he's a Bigfoot guy.
It's like he's into the big feet. What do you say? All right.
Right. Oh, I forgot. I got my sources are Daily Yonder, Wave 3, Spectrum News, Charlotte Observer, WBTV, Lexington Herald Leader, and CNN.
Wow.
There's a bunch of, I mean, there's a ton of different websites and local news stuff about Bigfoot. So it's all a bunch of local news stuff, I guess. There was one, it was in October of 2018 in Sandy Hook, Kentucky, which is about 100 miles east of Lexington. And a woman was a passenger. She and her husband were driving down this road late at night, and she reported seeing a giant, frightening creature on the roadside. and that it was standing there and it turned and looked like right at their car. And of course, she exclaims that, where is it? That there's something in the road. I'm looking at this thing. It's at least 7 feet tall. It was the color of a tree. It turned its head and looked straight at our car. But then the husband says he only saw a strange shadow. So I guess they reported it. She said she described it as a walking tree. A guy named Jack Smar.
I'd rather be a tree.
I'd rather Bigfoot. I'd rather be a tree. But a guy named Jack Smar from the Bigfoot Field Researcher Organization classified it as a Class B incident, which means possible Sasquatch was observed at a great distance or in poor lighting.
That's the name. That's it. That's the name of the episode. Possible Sasquatch.
So I feel like a Class B incident is probably the majority of the incidents.
Well, yeah.
It's like, and then like in March 2011 in Henderson County, it was reported that 3 juveniles were fishing in a pond and heard a noise. And when they looked up, they said that a tall tree-like creature, was standing on the opposite side of the pond just looking at them. And that was investigated by a guy named Bart Nunnally. Do what? I know.
A giant tree-like creature. And I'm like, you sure it wasn't a tree?
Right. But a lot of these people say, and this one thing I've found when I was reading these things, is it's like people are like saying their fur looks like bark, so to camouflage. And some of them say that they weren't brown, that they had like a green tint to them, like to blend in with the trees. And I'm just like, what is this? I'm like, are they covered in moss? Like, what is, I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, this guy named Bart Nunnally, who is also with one of those Bigfoot research groups, he interviewed the kids and he felt like the kids were credible because he has found that children are less likely to lie than adults about that kind of thing. That's his reasoning with that.
Sure.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
I feel like I lied way more as a child, but okay, sure.
It's like, I don't know. Okay, and this one was, there is like a bug flying. Oh, it's on my computer screen.
Ooh.
I don't know what it is. It's weird looking.
It's
whatever. It's Bigfoot. And then in July 2019, a couple was camping at Mammoth Cave National Park.
Ooh.
It was a guy named Brad Ginn and a girl named Madeline Durand. And they were asleep. And around 11 o'clock, they said they were woken up by a man who like shone his flashlight in their tent. And
it's terrifying.
Right.
I would have like
this is one of those stories. It's like the man claims about Bigfoot. They didn't see it, but still, it's like people are dangerous.
Yeah.
Why are people allowed to have guns? Anyway, but that they were woken up by this man who came into their tent claiming that something or someone had destroyed his campsite. He was there with he had like a younger son. And so, and he wanted to know if they had seen or heard anything. And so, the Brad Ginn said the man said, "It's Bigfoot country."
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little weird he would say that. And then Ginn said that the man and his son were searching for whatever destroyed the campsite. And Madeline Durand said, "I hope you have weapons." And then he flashed a gun at us. He was like, "I have this. So if anything happens to you, then just yell and I'll come running." This random guy they don't know.
Okay, so
they don't know who this dude is. And the guy is never named. So don't know who this random person is.
This is one of the many reasons why I don't camp. One being, I don't want to. It sounds awful. But two, there's nothing about a tent that's going to protect me from surprise guy who just wants to show up. Like,
No.
I'm less concerned about bear and Bigfoot than I am random guy being like, hey, you guys up? Like, who the fuck are you? Like,
I know. And this was the story that had like, I mean, this is the one I got from CNN. Okay.
bleh.
There were several, I mean,
Yeah.
big news outlets that had this story. So I was like, hot damn, it was like 2019. This is crazy. And so the couple, they were up at that point, and I guess they were deciding whether they wanted to leave or not because
I'd be like, we're leaving.
This is weird. Yeah, I think that's what they were kind of like getting their stuff together.
Like, crazy guy thinks there's a Bigfoot out here, and crazy guy comes into our tent in the middle of the night, and crazy guy has a gun. We're leaving.
Right. We're not staying here anymore. This is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So they're deciding to leave, and I guess they're packing their stuff up, and they said shortly after they hear gunshots. And the guy just showed back up and said that he fired the gunshots because Bigfoot emerged in the woods. I mean, it's just like, so you're just shooting at random things now?
Someone's having a psychotic break in the woods.
Right.
Is the kid okay?
I mean, yeah. Nobody was hurt. The couple called 911 and then hiked back to their car. And then the spokesperson for the Mammoth Cave National Park, Molly Schroer, confirmed park rangers responded to an incident of a person discharging a firearm at 2 a.m. No threat remained in the park, but was still under investigation. And it said that they had talked to all parties involved and that it's not illegal to possess a gun inside the national park, but it is illegal to fire it. So I'm just like, what?
But then why be allowed to have one? I guess.
Right? Like, that's just
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It was crazy. It's just kind of like, what? I don't understand. But again, that's one of those stories. It's like, it's like, so you said you saw Bigfoot and you're shooting your gun, but why?
But also, like, yeah, it's dark. Are you sure it wasn't a bear? I mean,
well, not only that. I mean, I feel like if there were other people in the area, sure. I mean, somebody, a person, could have destroyed the tent.
Maybe he just had a really bad dream and lashed out. I don't know.
I don't know.
Weird.
But yeah.
Weird.
It's Bigfoot country. I'm like, but is it?
I mean, I'm not going to say a Bigfoot didn't do it because I can't prove that, obviously. But,
right.
Okay. I'm still more concerned about a psychotic guy going into someone else's campsite, into their tent, flashing a light on them, and saying, I've got a gun.
Like a Criminal Minds episode is what that, yeah. I'm pretty sure a Criminal Minds episode started out that way.
Not going camping.
And then this last little bit, this one's kind of like, okay. In July/August of 2020, the Travel Channel filmed this part of the second season of Expedition Bigfoot in Kentucky.
Sure.
And they think they found Bigfoot DNA.
Ooh.
Right. So a guy named Bryce Johnson was the head of expedition operations. Dr. Maria Mayer, she is a primatologist. And a guy named Russell Accord is an ex-military and / survivalist. And a guy named Ronnie LeBlanc, who is a Bigfoot researcher. They used some of the latest tech, drones, trail cams, and then they took soil samples, which is how the DNA thing came about. But they send all this stuff back to the, to this lab. Where was it? That was a DNA thing, to UCLA. But they send all the stuff that they collect back to be analyzed, and they have determined that there is and they didn't say where, they just said a 75,000 acre area in southeastern Kentucky, which I'm like, hello, Laurel
It's like
County.
our backyard.
Right? I'm just like, what?
Um,
Like I said, they just said southeastern Kentucky, 75,000 acre area that is like
I mean,
prime
I guess
Sasquatch area.
my guess would be Appalachian Trail area, but because I
Probably.
can't think
Yeah.
of any other area that is that densely forested, I guess.
Right. But this area has the greatest mathematical odds of encountering a Bigfoot slash Sasquatch.
Hmm.
It's prime Sasquatch area finding.
I'm good with not visiting. It's fine. I don't need
I know, right? I'm like,
a personal Sasquatch story. I'm good.
that's what we can do when we do our Randonautica stuff. We can do
There
Bigfoot.
you go. Except here I would find one. Bigfoot is
Right.
used in advertising for almost everything here.
Everything. Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I know, you just drive up and be like, oh, there's a statue of Sasquatch.
Like I wouldn't really have to. Well, we had a statue of Bigfoot in the library for a couple of weeks as part of a program that another organization was doing. They're trying to drum up interest, and I was like, cool, all right.
Nice. So in all this, their research, they found what they believe to be migratory patterns and a possible structure made from trees similar to what others claim to be made by Sasquatch.
Hmm.
And these tree structures are thought to be an indication of the creatures marking off their territory from other Sasquatch creatures. So it's like, this is my house.
Well, as long
You
as
can't
they're
come
not
here.
like hanging creepy Blair Witch shit out of the trees, I'm fine.
Right.
It's fine. Build your houses. It's cool.
Right. And so let's see. Took soil samples and sent them back to UCLA, California environmental DNA program for analysis. And the analysis sample indicates another type of primate other than human was in the area.
Hmm.
And what I was reading, it was kind of closer to chimpanzee, but obviously there are no chimpanzees living in southeastern Kentucky.
in a random. So we have like I think it's a Samsung or an LG. I don't know. We have a smart TV that has its own TV channels that are internet channels. I don't know anything about it. We vaguely watch really old Japanese anime sometimes on it, but
right.
Randomly last Sunday we were on something and it had like a old school, myths exposed or something kind of whatever. But it happened to be about Bigfoot, which made me laugh. Like, that's our topic. But
it's everywhere.
In it, and then I saw allusions to this in other places, is that they collected some of the things that were collected back in like the 70s or whatever when Bigfoot was becoming popular, maybe even in the 90s, I'm not sure. But it was like hair that they claimed was Bigfoot, and they sent it to labs, and it couldn't be definitively determined to be anything that we knew of. It was an unknown species of primate.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Okay, I'm here, sure. And I'm like, unknown, right. So it's not like someone went and took it, from the zoo or something. They can't identify it. So that it leads, I suppose, some credence to the theory that there's something around that we don't know what it is. I don't know. But so, yeah, I'm here for the DNA. It's like, well, it's in this family, but we don't know what it is. Which
it's kind of what this is. It's like,
which to me is disconcerting because we know. I mean, we have DNA of everything. Like we know what things are. So why don't we know what this is? So
right. But now we have it on file. But yeah, and in my looking up of, and there were tons. Tons of there was a whole website and it went by county how many how many Bigfoot sightings happened in each county that they had reported. But in my search, there is a Wild Man Festival.
Woohoo!
In Lawrenceburg.
Yeah, of course there is.
In June to celebrate the Sasquatch.
Oh my, when in June?
End of June, I think.
I'll
have to go back and look.
Too
but
bad.
it was like
is it while I'm there?
I know, right? You're just like, wait a minute.
Go.
We need to go check this out.
It'll be great.
It sounds very much like World Chicken Festival, but Sasquatch.
Well, I really want to go to I think it's in West Virginia. There's like a Mothman festival. And I'm like, I want to go to that. That sounds
I need
crazy.
to put that on the wheel.
Oh, Mothman on the wheel. Yes, I like it.
Yes, I need to put that on the wheel. But anyway, those were a few of the Kentucky Sasquatch stories.
I love it. Amazing.
But apparently it's a big deal here. I was not aware. Okay. I don't run in Bigfoot circles, so
yeah, neither do
I was unaware of the popularity of Bigfoot / Sasquatch.
I have been surprised by the number of people here who have mostly second story, but a couple have first person stories of Bigfoot encounters. So I'm like,
right,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite theory, and I think I mentioned this previously for something else, and I heard it on another podcast. I think they were talking about wormholes, which is the word I was trying to look for. Wormhole.
Okay, gotcha.
That wormholes exist in the world, in different places, and that is an explanation of how we are seeing things that aren't really there because they're going through a wormhole to somewhere else. So there may be like, 10 Sasquatch doing a tour, and we just keep seeing the same ones over and over. I don't know, but I like when there's like a weird sciencey concept that sort of tries to explain. I'm like, okay,
explain like what's happening. Yeah. So. But anyway, those are some Kentucky Bigfoot stories.
I love it.
I really did enjoy the one that was like, oh, we found Bigfoot DNA. What?
I love the casts of the footprint. Something about that just makes me stupidly happy. I can't explain why. I'm just like, I love this. So.
And that was the one guy that Brandon worked with, Rodney. That was in several of the articles that he had. There were pictures of where they had, and we'll post those with this, but several pictures of casting the footprints,
right?
Of that. And there was one video I saw where a guy, it was snow. He was out in the snow, and there were these giant ass footprints, and he had like a tobacco stick, and they were at least the tobacco stick length apart.
Oh wow, yeah.
But there were no other footprints around them to these were planted.
Right.
It was way beyond the normal stride of a normal human. And then once he was showing laid the tobacco stick down in between, and then you could see where his dogs, I guess he had his dogs out there, but there were some other smaller footprints way up here where his dogs had been. But it was just
how did those get there?
This is intriguing.
Yeah. This
is intriguing.
Show me your magic.
I know, right? So again, it's one of those that's I'm more inclined to believe in aliens. But
yeah, I try to,
and maybe Bigfoot, maybe Sasquatch is an alien. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I just try to keep myself. I mean, in the end, do I believe in Bigfoot and Sasquatch? No, but am I willing to be persuaded otherwise because things change and evidence changes?
Right.
Sure. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. Part of me wants the idea that something like that could be real, that can stay hidden that well. Because I need Nessie to be real. Okay.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Me too.
I need that. So, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief, I suppose, and give it a whirl. But thank you.
Now I want to go watch Harry and the Hendersons because that's one of my favorite movies from a kid. Yes. Excellent movie.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on our Bigfoot episode. That was a lot of good big fun.
I know.
All right.
And now.
Let's see, yeah. And now.
It's time for Tarot Time with April.
A spooky.
Spooky.
This last week was a giant shit show, and I want the cards to give me some love this week.
You're like, I need it.
People called out all week. I had a huge big thing that I needed to get done, and I had no time to do it, and I skipped lunch breaks, and it was just bad. It was a bad week. So, Claire, tell me when to stop shuffling.
Okie doke.
Here we do the shuffle card and shuffles. I don't know what the cards are going to bring, but I want them to bring good stuff.
Stop. I let you go longer because I like hearing the songs you make up.
Why, thank you.
It's always different.
It is. I like to have theme songs to everything I do in life. They just change. Like WandaVision. It's a different theme every time.
Right.
All right. Dear God, please. We're going to start our week with the Four of Wands.
Four of Wands.
Our midweek is going to be the Seven of Pentacles inverted.
Inverted.
And we're going to end with the Nine of Wands. And it's going to be good, or I'm going to go cry. Because I'm tired. Are you ready?
Yes.
The Four of Wands indicates a period of stability, fulfillment, and harmony. Perhaps you've reached a milestone in your projects. This card is also associated with the home, so now might be a good chance to spend quality time with your friends and family. Yay!
That sounds okay.
That sounds fine. I'm happy to start my week with stability, fulfillment, and harmony. I need that. I need
right.
that. All right. Pentacles.
Inverted.
You're thinking of the future and have been investing a lot of time and effort into a long-term goal. You've also learned to focus your efforts where they are most important. While you may feel impatient with the slower progress, know that if you keep at it, your goals will come to fruition. But it's inverted, so wasted efforts, limited success, and lack of prioritization. So, thanks, midweek.
Boo.
Over it.
I don't like it. Thanks, I hate it.
But Nine of Wands. This is how we're going to end our week. Are you ready?
Okay, let's go.
You're in the final stretch, but not completely done yet. Well, if that isn't the end of a week, I don't know what is.
Right.
You may be faced with a few more obstacles before crossing the finish line, but you can do it. You may feel worn down, but you have the resilience and steadfastness to overcome whatever comes your way. This is the last darkness before the dawn. It doesn't sound great, but it's at least positive.
Right.
Can I be done? Can we just... Can we just have it? Oi.
You're like, I just want a good week.
I mean, I'm gonna enjoy my beginning with the harmony and stability, and then I guess all my wasted efforts are gonna come next week, which sounds accurate to my work life. So cool. Cool. I love wasting my time and effort. It's my favorite.
It is your favorite.
All right, Claire. It is time for the Wheel of Fate. What's it gonna give us? It's been pretty fun lately, so I'm having a good time. What you gonna give us, Wheel of Fate?
You're not gonna believe this.
Is it Yeti?
It is.
I I spoke it into being. I spoke it into being,
Yeti
guys.
/ abominable snowman.
I spoke it. It's the synchronicity coming out, man. I spoke this into being. I spoke Yeti. It's why I didn't go all the way into the Dyatlov Pass. Because
manifested it.
I was like, I'm going to do... Guys, next week I'm doing the Dyatlov Pass. It's going to be amazing. I love it. It's so bizarre and terrifying. And maybe a Yeti did it. Or not.
Oh my gosh. I was just like, are you kidding me?
That's
right now?
magical.
It is.
I appreciate it.
It is terribly magical.
I appreciate when the universe is like, here you go. Thank you, universe.
Because that was one thing everybody was like, oh, it's interchangeable. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, abominable snowman. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
I like to go with the cousins. They're cousins.
Right. Like, I feel like they're related, but they're not the same.
Cousins. Identical cousins.
Love it. Identical
One set of matching bookends, different as night and day. I'm here for you.
Oh my gosh. That's right.
Guys, I grew up on Nick at Night. I know all the old school theme songs. It's magic. All right.
It is.
Well,
yay.
Thank you guys for joining us on our journey through Bigfoot territory. Be sure to come back next week as we hang out with Bigfoot's cousin, the Yeti / abominable snowman. Right. And we'll tell you more terrifying stories because I love it.
Yes.
So, if there is a takeaway to today's episode, which I'm not saying that there is, but if there is a takeaway to today's episode, I'd say it's maybe don't go camping, but definitely don't go camping in Spy Rock area of California because it sounds scary.
And possibly be careful if you go to Mammoth Cave National Park.
Right.
Look out for strange men with weapons.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
No camping. Just don't go camping. Right. Stay indoors. Be an indoor cat.
Yes, be an indoor cat, 100%.
We're all happier here. It's fine. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe and do all the things to help spread the word about our fun times here. In the meantime, you can follow us on pretty much everything. The Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, the YouTube channel, the Facebook page. No, I already said that one, right? I don't know. Whatever. All of those things at Brunch and Judge. But please, yes, please, oh, please, send us an email with your topics for the wheel or with your own little short judges and stories about anything or everything because we just enjoy them.
If you want us to keep it anonymous, we'll keep it anonymous.
Yeah, we're cool with that. We're super chill.
Yeah, but we'll judge with you.
Yes, we will. But send those to us at brunchandjudge@gmail.com. And until next time, guys, keep on brunchin'.
And keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch and judge everything and give you opinions that nobody asked for.